Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are here with Christine Walker. She is the founder of PT Secret website, and she's going to introduce us briefly, and then we can start our episode. So, Christine, please give us a brief introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited because I love talking about what I do. And honestly, I do it kind of all the time because I just like it. But I'm Christine, and I'm the founder of PT Website Secrets, also the owner of the healthcare website Secrets Facebook group. And really, I help other private practices, whether you're a PT, whether you're an OT, chiro, massage, we've helped them all, concierge medicine doctors, um, to get more leads and more patients using their online presence. So their website and how they present themselves to the world, which especially at the time of us doing this is kind of crazy because for a lot of businesses, their website is the only part of their business that's actually open across the country at this time. So it's such an amazing tool. I think so many people underutilize the internet, and that's what I love to help people break free from, because really that's what my story is. My story is that I was a young practice owner who was finding myself super limited. And I don't know if you want me to go into all of that right now, but I found my way out through using my website and direct to consumer marketing.
Okay, so let's start with your journey. So, walk us out from Christine, who was fresh out of college, and Christine today, and just map out your journey so we can learn, have some, learn experience from your experience kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So I actually finished my undergrad in 3 years because I had an inkling I wanted to go to PT school, and I'm like, well, that's going to be another 3 years. So I went from the University of North Carolina off to the Medical University of South Carolina, hopped the border to the beach to go to PT school, which was a fantastic experience. And I was very lucky from the beginning, even though I didn't think I was an entrepreneur at the time. And I never identified it as and myself as one. Like growing up, it always piqued my curiosity. But now looking back, I can actually see so many ways in when I was a child that I was doing entrepreneurial things. Like I, as a hobby in school, decided to handmade jewelry and just sell them to some of my friends. Like simple things like that, that I've always, kind of dabbled in, but had this overwhelming fear of like, I can't bear the responsibility of having my own business. The IRS is going to come knocking on my door. Things are just going to, I just can't handle this, like that sort of feeling. And I think a lot of people probably feel that way before they're starting either, whether it's their like private practice career or whether they're starting a whole nother venture. Um, it's that feeling of like, do I really have what it takes? And to be honest, I graduated PT school with no idea of opening my own practice. I really thought, I'm going to go be a staff PT, I'm going to work, and it's going to be great. Well, I was quickly disillusioned with that. And on top of it, within 6 months of graduating, on purpose, but got pregnant with my first daughter. And that was fine and all until I hit about 23 weeks, so about halfway through the pregnancy, and I got put on bed rest because apparently my body doesn't like to keep children in my body. So that being said, I was faced with a whole new challenge and also went through that and tried to go back to work. And I was just faced with horrible, horrible postpartum OCD. Actually, it's not called postpartum depression. It's called postpartum OCD. Basically, it was completely mentally incapacitating me. And I couldn't even get back to work full time. It was hard enough to get out of bed, let alone take care of this newborn baby. And my husband had been taking care of me for 3 months already. He probably thought he was about to get a reprieve, and now he's got a wife that like can't even think straight. So let's just say it was a perfect storm that looking back, I wouldn't trade for anything. Kind of like I think a lot of people will look back on this whole coronavirus situation. It is creating stresses and strains in your life, but it's also evolving you to who you need to be and what you need to do and what direction you should be going right now. And I think a lot of people are going to look back and see this as a very transformative moment. I know I am, even though right now I'm able to see some of that play out, But for me, when I first started, it was all about this moment of bed rest and basically having a psychological breakdown, because if it wasn't for that, I would not be where I am today. Because getting through that and healing from that is what brought me into a new light, into a new mindset, and evolved me into the person I needed to be, to actually decide I wasn't afraid to go out on my own. You know what? I can actually do this. And that was a huge, huge moment, because if that Christine Walker Physical Therapy, my cash practice, would have never existed, I finally got the guts up to just go for it on my own. And then when a year and a half later, I'd solved my whole website problem myself, and everybody's asking me for help, and I'm thinking, wait, I just finally got my practice going. What? Like, and now wait, should I pivot again? What am I going to do? I was able to make the leap with that and the help of a lot of coaching and support, to make that jump and also start the second business, PT Website Secrets. And that has now just exploded over the last few years since I made that decision. So my journey really was not the traditional, like, I am going to go do this, I have these plans. It was like life threw opportunities at me, and life also threw the opportunities at me to become the person I needed to be in order to say yes confidently, and to say, I know this isn't going to be easy, but I'm going to choose to move forward with it because I know what I'm being called to do. So that's really what my journey looked like. I had some amazing mentors along the way, even back in PT school and my rotations, who were teaching me business skills that I had no idea at the time, like how lucky I got being paired with them, that were teaching me business skills, even though, and business management skills, even though, it was just a clinic rotation. So it's fun to look back and see all the pebbles along the way that led to this moment. But here I am, running PT Website Secrets, have 3 employees. It is a full, I guess you could say it's a non-traditional thing, but once you get employees, like, things become kind of traditional again. I'm sure you can agree, owning your own clinic, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to break the 9 to 5. I'm like, well, I mean, I kind of have, I'm the boss. But of course, the funny thing is that also means I can work anytime, right? And my employees work, 8 to 5. So, well,
you mostly end up working 8 to 5 plus.
Yeah.
Is always a bonus.
I mean, the only bonus is I can also work anytime extra that I want. Yay!
Yeah.
No. I may joke about that right now, but to be honest, it has given me the flexibility and the lifestyle which is what I think I always wanted. It wasn't so much about the job or doing physical therapy. I think ultimately for me, the decision I made was I needed to have the flexibility to be able to pick up my kids at 3. I needed to have the flexibility to be able to take them to school and not be worried if I'm late to work. And it has given me those opportunities. I'm able to, go have a date lunch with my husband once a week, things like that probably wouldn't happen if I was working for someone else. And so I love that. I love that freedom that it gives me. And, but I think something you have to there is a moment, maybe I'm getting a little off topic, but I think it's worth mentioning. There's a moment when you become an entrepreneur that you actually do have to make a choice, because you will have the chance to make a ton of money, but at what cost?
Yes. Yeah.
And for me, I had to make this decision. I'm a mom of 2, and I really value my family, despite the fact that sometimes my behaviors may look like I'm more obsessed with work at times. But, you have to make the decision on, if you're going to do things like pick up your kids and take time off in the middle of the day, like, you're just not going to make as much money, to be honest. Or you're going to have to hire people to do that extra stuff for you, which of course is going to cut into your profits, which is totally fine. But you have to realize, as you're becoming an entrepreneur, whether you're pivoting or buying something, you're going to have to make a choice. Is this a lifestyle business? Or is this like, I'm going to push the grind business? And I think it's important to really know where you stand on that, and not say, well, I'm going to try to do a little bit of both. It's like, well, you've got to know where you stand.
But see, there is a lot of clarity which will only come once you jump into the water. Like, there is so many things you can see outside, but the real experience is when you jump yourself into the water, kind of thing. And I think I can resonate my personality with yours in a lot of ways, because since my beginning, I would hate to see myself in a 5x5 cubicle spending my entire life 9 to 5, like that was that would give me a nightmare till today. If somebody asked me to do that, and if I can see myself doing 10, 14, 15, or 40 years of my life, I would not do that. Like, that will be something I was like, that will make me break free, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's why from the beginning, only 6 months. So when I started out, I started out as a PRN. So I just wanted to see everything.
I did too,
Every single
actually.
day, I sign up with one of the staffing company, and every single day used to call me for somebody that decided not to show up, right? So every single day there's a different facility. It's a hospital, nursing home, rehab hospitals, and for 6 months, I really enjoyed. I just wanted to see what is good, what is bad, and what can be worked out for me. And finally, I decided that, okay, home care is for me, kind of thing. Because that was first is flexibility, and I was always looking for. I'm the flexibility guy. I can work 12 hours provided hours decided by me, not by somebody else, kind of thing. You know, and still, as of today, I still do home health care for 2 days. I still love to see my patients and stuff. But the flexibility that home care gives, nobody else. Like if I decide to see patient 10 o'clock, nobody's gonna come in between and say you have to go at 8 o'clock, kind of thing. But anyway, moving forward, what I wanted to translate is, there's a lot of people out there, and fear is genuine, fear is normal. That is one thing I would like to convey, right now, that anybody who is starting out business, okay, fear as an entrepreneur is normal, and only 10% of people are born entrepreneurs. Kind of what Einstein said is only 10% are born genius, 90% has worked their way through, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
that same thing applies when it comes to entrepreneur. There's 10% who are lucky enough to have born skills, but 90% is pure hard work and the lesson learned from the mistakes they do or somebody else's mistake. And this is what we're trying to rejoice right now, is a learning experience, whether it's bad or good, or something that we can share as of right now, and help somebody who is trying to test out the water, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we moving on to the next topic is influence of book. So let's talk about books you have read and you still feel as of today there are some part of that book is staying with you, and there are some aha moments from some, like a couple of books that you read and that has helped your life to move forward. Maybe it's fitness,
Sure.
personal life, or business books or anything.
Yeah, that's a great, great question. And there are a lot of them. I'm sure out of this call, I'm like, dang it. And then I'll be like, I just need to make a list of these. But then we'd go on for a whole hour about my favorite books. I will just preface by saying I think one of the most important things entrepreneurs can do is read, but not just read, but read and then go take action. Because I think a lot of people, as you were mentioning about getting stuck, and not taking the leap, is they go on courses, they go on trainings, they read a lot of books, but like that's all they do. They just knowledge gather. They never actually try to do anything. And they let that actually be an excuse for a long time, right? Like, well, I need to read more, I need to learn more, I need to whatever, without realizing exactly what you said, which is jump in. That's the best way to learn.
Yes.
Now, I'm still a huge fan of, like, I'm trying to always be reading at least one, if not multiple books. And I mean, I spend way more of my time than most people would probably expect on coaching calls with other coaches. And that's the only way I've gotten here. I would have never gotten here alone. So still to this week, I mean, like right now, I think I'm spending at least 5 to 6 hours on coaching calls where I'm the learner, like every week. In addition to reading, and then in addition to hosting my own coaching calls where I'm coaching. So I see books as so important as part of this equation. A lot of my favorite books that always come to mind as the ones that like have stuck with me for so long are the ones that got me started, which for me was a lot of marketing books. All right, so I read everything Russell Brunson had to say. because he's a brilliant marketer and he's really good at deducing topics to simple concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something we can all aspire to do, is to be able to teach it at such a basic level. So when I was getting started, the hardest part of your entrepreneurship journey is usually actually not creating your product or whatever you're going to sell. It's actually getting the word out there so that people know it's amazing. So I focus heavy on entrepreneurs. I read everything from Russell Brunson. I mean, I still do to this day. He's got a ton of stuff out. I also hired a business coach very early on. And I mean, within a year of starting my practice. So I hired Paul Goss, and I've been working with him for over 4 years now, basically, or be 4 years this summer, somewhere in there. Just getting up there, you start losing count. So I've worked with him basically all the way through his top level, as far as you can work with him, and I still do to this day. And that's huge. He has 3 amazing books, about to be 4 this summer or later this year, that I've all devoured and read, because it's everything from marketing to also business. I think if anything, he's taught me the most. He's a brilliant marketer. I learned a lot of that, but he also brings the business side in, which is, how do you really run a business? If you don't have somebody teaching you that, like, you got to find somebody, because, before I didn't have, I now can literally, if I want to, let me put it this way, I can and have run my business from out of town, just glancing at worksheets, and know where the problem is and what needs to be done. I've been able to go on vacation for 2 weeks and actually have the business be fine when I come back.
Yeah.
Like, because of how the business is set up. So he's taught me a lot about that as well. So his books, like his marketing book, is a great place to start. He has a great book on selling to sell is healthy. All fantastic places. Even if you're not doing a PT clinic, I'm telling you, I first started with him for that, but he's been the one that's trained me through all the online stuff I've been doing, even though his main focus isn't that. So highly recommend his books. I also am a huge fan of Donald Miller. The funny thing is, I found out when I first started reading Donald Miller, I was like, wow, he and I have a lot of the same philosophies. And people are going to think I like totally just ripped him off. I was like, I didn't even know. I still knew Don Miller as the guy who wrote Blue Like Jazz and came and spoke at my church when he was little, when I was really, really little. So I was like, what? He's writing business books? And I go and read them. I'm like, wow, this is really, like, he's right on par. So I love his stuff. He's such a great guy that really is just helping entrepreneurs everywhere. So his book and Story Brand, fantastic read, something I would definitely look into. I could go on, but I give you 3. I give you Russell Brunson, Paul Goss, and Donald Miller. So there you go.
Okay. No, I think that's good enough for now. Definitely extended version of videos moving forward, but this one.
Yeah, when you need that full book review video, like, I got him.
Yeah, we can definitely do some Facebook Lives moving forward, and then talk kind of all day thing, right? But yeah, definitely, I think, if I try to add up a couple of things, is like, there's a lot of value in the books of $7 than you would find in $5,000 courses.
Yes.
Right.
Guys, I mean, and for reference, why do you think I wrote a book? It's the same thing.
Yes. And I was fortunate enough to realize that, 2 to 3 years down my career, because I'm the guy who hates reading the book. Like, if I have to pick up a physical book and read it, I'll fall asleep like 15 minutes.
There's always Audible, man.
Yeah, but that's what, like, Audible has been like kind of a blessing for me. And when I was doing like home healthcare, so I always have 15 to 20 minutes of drive time to see another patient. So that was kind of a blessing for me. And I read almost 14 books in 1 month for a guy who cannot finish 1 book in a month. And
there you go.
Job, right? I did not have to wait any extra minute apart from my job. I used to see like 8 to 10 patients, and my drive time is around 2 to 3 hours combined.
Right.
So, and I started reading like twice the speed when I kind of, get a hang of it. And some, authors are really, fascinating that you want to learn more and more and more. right?
Yeah.
So,
And some talk real slow.
yeah, yeah. And that has definitely, changed my life and my perspective. And I would, recommend the same thing as you mentioned, that, you have to realize that where you want to go, and then find people that relates to you, and try to, maybe pay for it, or, if somebody's nice enough, get some advice from it or guidance, right? That can take you a long way for sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of finding the right I'll be honest, there's a lot of finding the right personality for you as a coach. Like, I picked Paul because he fits exactly like what I need to get my butt moving in the right direction. Other people will pick other mentors because they feel that way about them. And I think it's just important that you start diving in and find who connects with you like that. Like, who's going to keep you going?
Yes.
I mean, he's still finding ways to keep me going after about 4 years. I'm like, all right, pretty good match. But some people may listen to something of his and be like, and that's fine. Like, keep exploring, because there are lots of fantastic mentors out there. And, I think Paul's great. He fits me. I know a lot of others.
For mentor,
it's
of
like,
course,
go find it.
You have to match with the personality for sure. If, kind of, it's like parenting, mentoring is basically. So if you're the right fit, no, it's not going to work.
I need someone who can see right through me and call me out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to next question is like, let's discuss about your marketing experience and share some words of wisdom.
I think, especially if we're going to focus on people who are just starting out, and the power in what's called the Dream 100, which, if that's not a concept you're familiar with, you can Google it. It's something Russell talks about, something Dana Derricks talks about. It's the idea of basically leveraging other people around you to really help get your word out. That could be things like affiliate ventures and partnering with different people. I really think, if I have to tell you why I succeeded, because, by the way, I did not start running ads till 2020. Okay. So I built a company paying me more than a PT salary, and I had 3 employees without ads. And I think a lot of people think like ads are just so sexy and I've got to like go try them. But I found out early on that if I could be of help to other influencers and help their audience, they would spread the word for me. Mm-hmm. So I went very hard down that route at the beginning when it came to marketing. So of course I did all the things, like I needed a website myself and position myself, and I need to be posting on social media organically, and I need to be holding Facebook Live, because Facebook Live had like just come out back when I was doing this, and it was a hot thing. And I mean, not that it's not still hot today, but it was like super, everybody better be doing it. Yeah. And that's where all of this really grew from, was purely organic, so not paid traffic, me speaking at other people's events, me speaking at other people's masterminds, building relationships with these influencers, even if it meant taking their courses to do so, right? And not be afraid to just give. I mean, for a long time, I did webinars that I only, I basically were all affiliate. Like, I didn't generate any of those leads because I didn't have many to generate. Mm-hmm. And so this works. So whether you're trying to generate leads for affiliate, whether you're trying to start a PT practice, there are a lot of organic ways. And I think people it's hard. Organic is hard. Why? You don't get the instant satisfaction that something seems to be working. So people are like, well, if I go pay ads and people click on it or people inquire, like, I'll feel like something's working. And they don't stick with the organic marketing long enough to see how far they can get. And I always recommend, if you're starting a new venture, how organic can you stay for how long till you've exhausted it? That's when you can start adding in the ads and prospecting new clients. Because you be honest, when you're first learning your product and what you're selling, it's hard to sell it. You've got to learn to sell it. You've got to practice. You've got to fail. You've got to have people tell you no. I mean, my conversion rates at the beginning were horrible, not because my product was horrible, because I couldn't sell it. And I just had to practice that over and over. And that was the thing. I think it's just so easy for people to give up on I'll be honest, most people don't make an entrepreneurship because they're not enough of a bulldog. They don't just say, other people have made it work, that means I can make it work. You know, the business owners that I see struggle, they're the ones that throw up their hands and they're like, well, I tried that, it didn't work. I'm like, so you tried it once with literally maybe just a little bit of guidance and it didn't work, so therefore Google Ads doesn't work, or therefore posting on Facebook doesn't work? Yeah, no. I've got an example of hundreds and hundreds of people who successfully do this. You can't tell me it doesn't work. I'm sorry, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a coach that's strong enough to tell you it's you, you need to go keep trying, like, you're going to flounder and you're going to fail. So I think sticking with marketing, stick with organic for as long as possible. Now, organic doesn't mean that you're not doing, like, that doesn't mean you're just posting on Facebook every day to a silent audience. Like, I went out and found other audiences. It's an idea of, you know, partnering and borrowing people's existing audiences. You know, for me at the beginning, that was they get a 50% cut of whatever we sell from their list. Really good deal. But guess what? Got your name out, get the ball rolling. Yes, I didn't make as much money, but you know what? It would have taken me a lot more money to go get those leads.
Yeah.
So for anyone starting, I really recommend going hard on your organic strategy.
Well, I think that's a learning lesson for me because I have not started it, and I think I can definitely implement that in my practice for sure.
Yeah, in a private practice, it just looks a little different, right? It's going out in the community. It's being everywhere. It's asking for referrals from people who do like you guys already. It's going back and, you know, it looks a little different, right? And then it's doing some social media stuff. It looks different. And I see so many practice owners, you know, sure, if you've got $2,000 to shell out to Google, we can skip this part. But there's plenty of people who don't have that.
Yeah. No,
or just
like that eventually is cutting out of the profit, you know, and with the numbers are limited, you know, there's not much of a room for, you know, wiggle. Like if you to start throwing $2,000 to $3,000 in marketing, then that's $36,000 of your profit.
Yeah, and just because it's my high horse, what I see happen, this is me getting a little like, getting a little venting going on here. But what I see happen is people will go out and shell out $5,000 for marketing something. And then the great irony is their website's awful and does not convert. So they will spend all this money on marketing, like they put out flyers or they put out ads or whatever, but then they have a website, because the website, this is what people don't understand. The website is not just one little bit of your marketing. The website is where all your marketing comes back towards, right? It's the sun. Everything else revolves around it when it comes to marketing. And so if you're doing all this great job to get the word out and people are looking you up, and your website's terrible, it doesn't convert, it doesn't bring you leads, nobody inquires, nobody calls, you've wasted all that money because they're not doing anything. They found out about you, well, you're not getting any money back, which is not the point of marketing. The point of marketing is you put money in to get more back.
Yeah.
It's like an investment. So it's the one thing, if I could tell people, it's like before you ever spend a marketing dollar, and sometimes even people go out and do all these great organic stuff, but they have the same problem. Wow, my website visitors are now 500 a month, but nobody comes in. Well, your website wasn't ready for all the amazing things you were doing.
Sure.
So that's where I see people fall down a lot. And then they get frustrated because now they're set back $5,000 and they're like, well, I should have put that to my website. And now I'm just stuck. And that's what I hate. That's what I hate seeing. I don't like people getting stuck in that in between.
Okay. So like one thing I always ask people is like, what are your, you know, experience as to share to new grads, you know, because you have made that transition, right? So share some, you know, words of wisdom to somebody who is starting out or, you know, getting out new grad kind of thing.
In the sense of wanting to start their own practice or an entrepreneurial venture?
Just like getting out of the college and like trying to find a passion, you know, because see, you found your passion, right? So we are trying to help out to find people their own passion, right? So how do you make a transition or how do you find your passion kind of thing?
I really think it finds you. I mean, I'm just being honest. You know, it's people make it and I'm sorry to get all philosophical, but people make it like some big idea, like you have to choose your passion. And I don't really think that's how it works. I really think it's pretty evident when stuff lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, even today, I passed off some job duties between employees. And one person was like, oh my gosh, I thought I loved my job before, but now I love it even more. I love doing this new stuff you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, honestly, I saw that in her before, which is why I gave it to her, right? Because I knew she'd enjoy it and she'd be good at it. I think people's passions and stuff are always there. It's looking for the evidence of them. And sometimes that means you're getting in your own way. Like you can't look at yourself. And so sometimes that's going to be asking other people. Like my husband, when it came to, so I was a pediatric acute care therapist in the hospital for a while. And I was on pediatric rehab for a while. And my husband was like, you say you love this, but you come home every day miserable. Like, how do you love this? I mean, he basically called it out. He's like, look, you can't really love this. Like, you're miserable when you get home. And I was like, and in the end, he was right. Like, I loved acute care, but I didn't love the rehab intensive side of it, that. And it turns out I was able to stay on acute care only, but so it worked out. But it's like other people can sometimes see that in you better than you can see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really be thinking along the lines of, if you've been to PT school, we know you have a passion for helping people, because I'm yet to find somebody who has gone to PT school that doesn't like to help people. Okay. It's like somehow that's what unites us all. We like to help people. And that's where we have to realize that wherever we're going, I think when it starts with that foundation, and then you're adding on the bits that you're good at. Like for some people, they won't all be great as a CEO. Does that make sense? I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
you and I have a CEO drive. Like we love numbers. We love spreadsheets. We're so intrigued by the idea of getting the right person in the right spot. Like that's what we want to be doing all day to make this thing work. But some people just would rather be more of like a project manager. And, you know, sometimes that means it's your own company and sometimes it doesn't. So I think it's really looking at just what puts you in your zone of genius and your zone of energy. Like what really gives you that energy, what really makes you feel like, like I got this.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times where your passion's going to find. And like I said, I didn't realize websites were my passion. I mean, to be honest, marketing is more my passion. I've just really applied it to websites.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where I say you've got to go on finding it. It is trial and error. But I think it's already found you. You just have to open your eyes.
And I think one thing I learned from, my journey is like, you don't have to, what I would say is like, try to find it, once you try things doing over and over again, like let's say orthopedic care, like, when I started my career, I was doing general thing, but then I find it that, okay, this is something I'm really good at. Like whether it's replacement fractures, the confidence really boosted up when I started seeing those patients. And the more and more I see, now a person can have my patient can have a miserable face on the first day of surgery, but I can help boost their confidence in one visit because I have that confidence.
Right.
That, okay, if you have a knee replacement, if you, my patient, 4 weeks, we are not going a single day more. 4 weeks, hands down, you're discharged.
Like you will complete this.
Yeah. And I have that confidence that I'll make it,
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, when you try to do over and over things, that's where you try to realize that, okay, now I got it. Like,
Yep.
numbers. Like the first, my job was like, I used to it was a small home care company in New York, but the owner supposed to be having a really big money. So every 6 months, he used to go out in the market and end up buying something. And then he will come to a company meeting saying, oh, hey, I happen to buy a nursing home. Now you guys go figure it out and make it work, right? So it was my job and a DON's job to flip that thing and start working in a proper way to start making business. So we did first one was my and the DON's life was miserable for the first one. Like it was assisted living slash memory care, and it was a horrible place.
Yeah.
Residents were half kind of thing, and the facility was shady and all kind of stuff. We had to cut through a lot of crap just to get, and it took us almost a year. But then after 6 months he bought a nursing home, so it took us only 6 months for that place. And then he bought like a rural hospital. That took us only 3 to 4 months. So now after doing three, my like personal confidence skyrocketed.
Hmm.
And then I knew, okay, now I got it. Like I can flip any businesses that I can be part of it. As far as numbers, because at the end, my personal story is like it all comes down to numbers. If your numbers are not right, no business can be successful. So
Absolutely.
my interest is always in numbers. Show me your number, and I see if I can help, kind of thing. And that's where I started doing over and over and over again. Now I own 4 businesses already, and that's what I try to do. I try to fix the numbers. The rest of the things, like of course you have to fire people and hire people, but that's a part of the job. But in order to run a successful business, you have to know your numbers and you know how to fix it. As long as you do that, you can run any business any given day.
And that's the truth, I think. And that's why I guess my answer wasn't as straightforward as like, oh, well, if you like this type of work, because the truth is, especially when it comes to business skills, like it doesn't matter if it's PT practice or not. You can go take
Yeah.
those skills and translate it to any business. And I think that's really where my confidence has grown as an entrepreneur and is really like what I've learned here. Like if it failed, I wouldn't be going back to work for somebody else. I'd be starting something new. Whether it's in the PT industry or not, it wouldn't matter. I'd have the confidence to know how to build a company up from the beginning because I've done it before, done it a couple of times before, just
Yeah.
like you. And so I think that's where it's like, so what? You've got a PT degree. So what? Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Well,
And
we
if
can
you
still
stay
be
within
like,
the field, great. But if
Yeah.
you don't, who cares?
And plus, having a PT degree is always a center point of what you are doing around, right? And I was talking to Stephen Dunn the other day, and like right now, healthcare market has so much evolved that patient care is only 50% of the business, right? 50%,
Absolutely.
like at least 50% is still rolling around it, like fitness training, nutrition, or a prevention, or management, or even tech side of it, like email marketing or website, or Google or Facebook marketing. That's like there's a lot of guys doing just Facebook ads and Google ads, and like I see a lot of gurus popping up, but there's a good thing and a bad thing. Everybody wants to be a guru of something, right? So there is a lot of information flooding, and that's where people are getting confused because they will test out with somebody who is also kind of learning, but they don't know the difference between a real guru and somebody trying to just test out the market. So if he's testing out for himself, chances are he's going to be less effective than somebody who has 10, 15, or 20 years of proven experience that is helping out in the community for the same field. Like let's say Paul, right? So Paul helps the on marketing and all kind of stuff, right? But let's say somebody who is just starting out, they can market the same thing, right? But the service is not the same.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think honestly, this is one of the reasons like I love Russell Brunson's opinion on this, which is that there's a lot of, especially I'd say right now in the PT digital marketing sphere with regards to we do ads and we do whatever, there's a lot of competition, and it's what Russell Brunson calls the red ocean, because all the sharks are literally just fighting over the same food,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas what you need to do is kind of go create a blue ocean on the edge of that, which means what really, you got to take a little different spin on it. And like for me, right, 3 years ago, the blue ocean for me was, hey, It's the fact that I now, everybody's doing how to build your PT business. Well, nobody's teaching how to really make your website work. And I just happened to figure it out on my own without a developer. And now all of a sudden people want to know what I have, right? So it's almost like some people are going to find their niche in, they made a discovery that no one else has actually just marketed yet or like put out to the market, right? And it's the idea of creating your own blue ocean. You have to, like, you can look, somebody can go in, they say they want to be the digital marketing and ads expert for PTs. Sure, they could go in and try, but you're way behind. There's already what are called like industry leaders in that category. Mm-hmm. And you may get some small success, but it's never going to be like this.
Yeah.
It's very hard if you're just selling the same thing. And so it's really what makes you a little bit different. Like where can you go be what they call category king, right? So you can even see in the PT niche, there's kind of category kings for different types of coaches going on, right? Yeah. Like if you want to get started, you go over here. If you're trying to grow and scale, you go over here. If you need motivation to try a different type of entrepreneurship, you go over here, right? And they all serve PTs. But like they all kind of have their own little place. And they're smart enough to know if they stay in that place, they'll all still be doing very well.
Yes.
Whereas, like, yeah, I mean, I see the gurus pop up all the time. And I love that people are trying to be entrepreneurial, but you've got to have a little bit of like, what's your category you're claiming?
Yeah, yeah. I think that is a takeaway. You have to identify, the sub niche, right? And try to be, expert in that, and then you try to claim that particular zone, because the age of information is so much that there can be a lot of misinformation too.
Yes.
Right now, the situation is there is only 30% accurate information, 50% is false information, right?
Oh yeah.
Going the other way around, like even when it comes to news channels or other stuff. So it's same thing applies to us in terms of doing finding our niche, right? So yeah, I think that is a great advice that try to find your sub niche. Of course, like niche is different, but like try to find your own specialty in niche.
Yeah, and I would even argue you're going to have to create it because that's the only way you're the head of it.
Yes.
You have to go create it. Because, at this point, like, right, if you want to go.
Most of the places are taken already.
You need to go create a new niche. You're not going to find it, like I said.
Yeah.
Have the mentality of, I've got to go make it. So what is it?
Yeah. No.
I mean, what skills do I have that people need that I can, I could have gone, like, look, to be honest, when this company started, when PT Website Secrets started, I actually had about 3 different potential ventures going on that I've been working on. Some I'd gotten a lot farther on than this. But the look was, okay, I could do all 3 of these. I like doing all 3 of these. I can serve 3 very different populations by doing all these. But which one at that point, it's like, okay, if they're all else equal, where's the demand? Where's the highest demand without me having to create an audience? And it was the website. I mean, it was very clear, and I think that's what you've got to look. You can't create something people don't want. So I think another great way to find where you can help and where you can venture off into entrepreneurship, whether it's in PT or elsewhere, is like, what do people ask you advice on?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably, if I'm going to give a tactical answer, that's probably the best one I've got. What do people ask you advice on? Great. If you're the expert on that, go make your category.
Yeah. I think, no, I would agree 100%. Sure. But see, these all things comes down to experience. Nobody can find it in book, right? So what we are is pure experience. And that's what I try to bring through this platform is experience so that people will not find it in a book, right? But I think we can go all day, but we'll just cut it short. Thank you so much. Like that was a great information that you shared, and I personally enjoyed, even I learned a few things for sure. And, thank you and looking forward to, be in touch and even definitely we can, create some Facebook lives or do some affiliated things together for sure.
Let's do it for sure. I love it. This was a great chat today.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christine. You have a good rest of the day and we'll catch up. All right.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much.